Genital piercing myths. Debunked by a piercer. Me. Coming up next on Piercing Myths, episode number 8. For those that are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you find it helpful and useful. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and, like us if you like the video. But you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Now, if you're one of those people that's easily offended, does not want to learn about genital piercings or anything that has to do with that, or is not of a proper age, or where you're located in the world, it's frowned upon that you would have such knowledge or what have you, you need to find a different video. There are plenty on our channel that have absolutely nothing to do with any piercings of a sexual nature or in the genital area. Those might be a little bit more appropriate for you. If you're looking for something titillating, exciting, and entertaining, other than the sound of my beautiful voice and my handsome features, you're not going to find any of that here. This is solely for educational purposes. For those that are considering getting the piercing or genital piercings, and maybe their partners or someone who wants to, is curious and wants to know more about genital piercings. I'm going to go through 18 different myths, and then after that, I'm going to explain give you some information from my own experience of having genital piercings and piercing people and helping clients get through the healing process. We're going to start with the first myth, that they make you a better lover. This is kind of like with the tongue piercing. The last time I posted one of these was that if you sucked at it before, you're going to suck at it now. It may enhance things. It may make it a little bit more exciting. It may stimulate your partner in different ways. It may stimulate you in different ways. But, it is kind of one of those things where if things aren't working before, they probably aren't going to work now. It's not going to be worse. It may be better. But it's definitely going to be different. And a lot of that depends on which piercing you're getting done. The other thing is some partners absolutely hate them. Either they are afraid of the idea of it, jewelry falling out, or it is uncomfortable for you to have that particular piercing in at that time and do what you're doing. They're a sign that you have loose morals, that you're a sexual deviant, or just plain kinky. False. I have pierced people from every walk of life you could possibly imagine. Some do discuss their preferences and so forth. And I have to say that it is, I do probably the same variety of lifestyles or whatever you want to call it, as I do, genital piercings on those people as much as I do nostril piercings on these people. It doesn't mean that, if somebody has a genital piercing, they're suddenly going to go home with you. It doesn't mean that they're into some weird sexual thing that you don't want to search on a Google search. It just means that maybe they're a little bit more in touch with their body. Maybe they're a little bit more sexual from a standpoint of educated, and a little bit maybe more open for communication. But the reality is it doesn't mean that they're into something or they're going to do something just because they have a genital piercing. They're probably going to need to require that the partner has, some form of a personality that's, nice to be around. Number 3, one of my least favorite of all the myths, that if you have a genital piercing, it means that you were sexually abused at some point in your life. False. Most of this comes from outdated studies that were basically conducted on people who were in treatment. So they already knew they had the problem. They had that terrible event in their life, and had piercings or tattoos. They are also the kind of studies that come across that generally list a whole plethora of negative things that those that are getting tattooed, pierced, or extremely modified in one shape or form have all these negative problems. And those studies may have shown that if you're pierced or tattooed, you're more prone to addiction, substance abuse, having a criminal history, being physically injured, more apt to do taking risky behavior, anger management issues, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, and accidental death. Well, the reality is that that's life. Just because a person has a tattoo or a piercing doesn't mean that those things are going to happen. And as both of these things have become more popular and more mainstream and more widely spread, you see more people with tattoos, more people with piercings, etc. It means that it's more socially acceptable, but it also means you're going to find more people that have these issues. So none of this means anything. Number 4, genital piercings are more prone to infection than other piercings. False. If the piercing is taken care of properly, it's done correctly, it's done with sterile equipment, and precautions are taken to ensure that some type of foreign pathogen doesn't work its way into the piercing at the time, and you clean it properly, and you practice proper cross-contamination prevention, and you are healthy, you are probably not going to see an infection of any type. In fact, genital piercings tend to be less prone to this because they heal faster than other piercings. So it's actually a lower risk. However, because you have hard metal through soft tissue, through rough activity, even after the piercing is healed, there's always a slight possibility of causing a tear in the piercing, and then having an exchange of a virus or other pathogen and contracting an STI. So, when switching partners, it's best to practice safe sex just to be on the safe side. But beyond that, it is not more acceptable to infection than any other type of piercing. Number 5, this is a big one that was going around during the 90s, that people have orgasms while getting the piercing. This is primarily clitoral hood piercings more than anything else. No, I have never had a client say to me, "Oh, you just satisfied me in a way no one else has," or "This has happened." There are some people that maybe enjoy pain a little bit, but I've never had a client say that they got that type of release and enjoyment during a piercing. Number 6, going along that orgasm thing. They can get an orgasm by just walking down the street, crossing their legs, or just sitting in a certain position. No. Yes, it's going to stimulate the area, certain piercings will. They remind you that you have that part of your body, etc. Some people are maybe a little bit more hypersexual to some degree, but no. I've never talked to anyone who actually stated this. I've seen this stuff online, but how much of it is fantasy and how much is reality is very, very limited. I have had clients that have found the constant stimulation from walking, movement, etc. too much and asked to have the jewelry removed. So it was, as they explained it, it wasn't in a fun way. It was in a way that was more like someone holding you down and tickling you nonstop. So it really comes down, I think maybe that's where this started, but the reality is no, there's no such thing as, it's a fantasy. Number 7, will jingle while you walk. Well, that really depends on the jewelry you wear and how large it is and if there is other jewelry. And what clothing you're wearing. Most of this is not going to make a lot of noise while you're walking. Most people are not going to notice it unless, I guess, you had something really huge in there and maybe some bells hanging off of it. I don't know, but no, it doesn't make any additional noise. Will cause a loss of sensation and possibly paralysis. Piercings, all piercings we do, do not go deep enough to really impact nerves and cause that kind of damage. The reality is it's not going to add this. Some people state things about piercings in this area, doing that over time. What that probably has more to do is becoming accustomed to that sensation that the jewelry produces to the point where it's normalized. So it's just like everything else in your life. If it becomes normal, not only does it become kind of a part of you, which is what most piercings do, but at the same time, the newness is gone, that fresh, exciting sensation. So it may seem like it does, I guess would be the best way of putting it. The only case where you may have nerve damage from a piercing is if you got an infection, put off getting it taken care of, to the point that the infection spread into the nervous system. You would really, really have to put this off, or it would have to be an extremely special situation. Usually most people's immune system and just common sense would keep somebody from getting to that point. Number 9, genital piercings hurt a lot more than other piercings. False. Genital piercings can be very intense at first, kind of a sharp pain. But unlike other piercings, like ear piercings, nostril piercings, nipple piercings, name your piercing, there is not that massive throbbing and aching immediately afterwards. Genital piercings tend to be an ow, that doesn't feel good, and then nothing. So I would not say they hurt more. I think often that aftermath is much worse than the actual piercing itself. And with genital piercings, you just don't have that. Number 10, need to be cleaned every single time you urinate. False. Urine, your urine, not other people's, your urine is acceptable to you. I know people like to say the word sterile, but there is no way your urine could become sterile unless I guess if you took it out and then put it in an autoclave and then sterilized it, then it would be sterile, but it would be changed from what comes out of you. I don't know. Your urine's full of a host of different microorganisms that work in par with your immune system. Anything that comes out of there is totally acceptable to you. It is not a foreign pathogen. It is not going to cause an infection. In fact, on some piercings where urine does come in contact with the piercing on a regular basis, for example, like a Prince Albert piercing, it in fact helps to clean off the discharge and keep the piercing kind of free of the crusties. The other thing is I generally suggest that even after, when you're during the healing process, if you do have sexual intercourse, even if you did wear protection the way you're supposed to, that you urinate afterwards just to be on the safe side. Number 11, common one, and kind of and a lot of times it turns into the con that makes people go, no. This one is you don't have to wear protection during the healing process if you've been with a partner for a long period of time. This is completely false. Every individual human on this planet has a different cocktail of microorganisms. Those are not necessarily acceptable to you, and they should not be entered into an open wound. As I often put it, if your partner had an ear piercing, would it be okay for you to suck on that, or would that cause an infection? It's that simple. You still need to practice safe sex while it's healing. I generally suggest a minimum of 6 months just to be on the safe side, even if you've been with that person for 30 years, just to be on the safe side. Number 12, you can have sex immediately. No, I don't advise it. Yes, you could. You can do a lot of things if you really want to, but is it advisable? No. That abuse, trauma, etc., the roughness, it is probably going to cause issues, if not immediately, over the healing period. It's going to increase the amount of swelling you see. It's going to prolong your healing period, and it can lead to other issues. You need to give your body a little time to clean up the mess that the piercing created, and start that healing process and kind of get to the point where it's ready for sex. Be gentle at first. If it hurts to do something else, or completely rest. just kind of consider the area off limits for a little while. Number 13, I can use any lubricant or any lotion I wish. No, you want to avoid any type of lotions or lubrications that have any type of fragrances, flavors, warming gels, any additives is going to cause issues. That piercing's an open wound, and those things should be avoided in an open wound. Number 14, can't wear a tampon or a pad while I'm healing a genital piercing. Wrong, false. Why would that be an issue? If they're clean, new, not reusable, which I don't know why anybody would, and you wash your hands and be careful with applying them, it shouldn't cause any issue at all. It shouldn't be a problem. Venous cups and etc., that's kind of questionable, and it's not really something I've done a lot of research on. If anybody has had experience healing out a genital piercing while using one, please leave a comment. Number 15, I can wax all I want while healing a genital piercing. No, false. The problem with waxing and even shaving to a degree is a couple different things. With the waxing, some of the products, waxing products, and et cetera, getting them on or in the piercing during the healing process would probably cause issues. And the stuff they put on afterwards can cause it too. The other problem is it getting on the jewelry and then the jewelry shifting or moving and your piercing being agitated by that. Also, just the trauma of some of that wax getting on the piercing. That's just not going to feel great, and it's going to cause problems. The other issue, or the issues with shaving, is the cream, if you use it, any type of moisturizers you use, and possibly little hairs getting into the piercing with trimming. Those are all issues. If you have to, I would suggest covering the area with something that's going to completely isolate it, and that is not 100%. There's nothing really you can put over there that's going to guarantee it ain't going to get anything on it. So, best to abstain, get a little hairy for a little while. It's not that long of a period in your life. You can deal with it. And trimming, usually not as bad, but you once again want to make sure to rinse off the area afterwards just to make sure no hairs get into the piercing. Now, that depends on the piercing. Some piercing are going to be more affected than others. Like, for example, a Christina, which is right at the top of the pubic mound, right at the top of the vulva, where the pubic mound starts. That's going to be more affected by that. Other piercings are done through areas of the body where there isn't much hair growth. So it kind of varies. Like, for example, like on men, a frenum piercing is probably not going to be affected by this. But you're going to have to be careful and make sure it doesn't come in contact with stuff. So buyer beware is what I'm getting at. Number 16, I'm scared to go through airport security because it's going to set off the metal detector. False. All body piercing jewelry of high quality, biocompatible materials are low carbon, meaning that they are not going to set off a metal detector. If they do, there's something wrong with the metal detector, or you got sold some jewelry that's crap. Weapons are made of high carbon materials. That's why those are set up to read and detect those things, not your body piercing jewelry. Number 17, if your partner's also pierced, the jewelry at some point is going to become intertangled and snagged, and you'll end up in the emergency room. False. I personally have been pierced for, like I said, over 30 years. Have been with numerous partners with various different piercings, and have never had a situation where the jewelry interlocked. It is possible. I have read accounts online. However, you really would have to kind of work at it. Depending on your partner's piercing and et cetera, positioning, yeah, it's unless you're just totally not paying attention, which, that can happen, and you're wearing jewelry that can interlock, like circular barbells with circular barbells, possibly. But the reality is simply removing or opening the jewelry would easily release the two of you, and there is no emergency room visit needed. This is just kind of one of those urban myths, in my opinion. Or maybe somebody's fantasy. I don't know, but the reality is the chances of this are very, very slim. And number 18, the jewelry can come loose and get trapped inside your partner. Kind of false. Most jewelry, especially those that are worn in genital piercings, are very secure on purpose. This is why you're not going to see threadless jewelry in piercings that enter cavities of the body, like Prince Albert's, Frenham's, etc. The reason being is that threadless, it probably come loose fairly easily, then fall into the person, and then be very difficult to remove. It would be an interesting story later. Anyway, it's important that you always check how secure your jewelry is before intercourse. It's just something you get in the habit of doing, part of the process. Now let's move on to some of my experiences with having genital piercings, some of my suggestions, hints, etc. Find a reputable piercer. Find somebody that's done a lot of these, that understands what it entails to heal out, is very knowledgeable, very passionate about what they do, and are going to be there if you have an issue. Additionally, you should ask, do they give a consultation? Because a lot of genital piercings require having the proper anatomy. So if they're unwilling to sit down, tell you some of the basics, like what it's going to take to heal it, what lifestyle changes there are going to be, etc., and do a basic anatomy check to make sure you're capable of having the piercing, that's not the piercer you want to go to. And understand, I tell people this all the time, including my own clients, there is nothing wrong with going and setting up an appointment for a consultation, going through the whole process, having them even check your anatomy, and go, you know what, I still need a few more days to think about this. It gives you an idea of how comfortable you are with the person. And also with this, you do need to develop a level of trust. The person should be able to communicate with you, be friendly, and etc. Because you're going to be exposing a part of your body that you don't normally expose to everyone, so you want to feel comfortable. Next thing, it's a good idea to bring along a moral support. If you have a friend, especially somebody that's knowledgeable in piercings, has a few themselves, or maybe it's your partner, somebody that can come along that's going to make you feel more comfortable and at ease while getting the piercing done, and etc. Do avoid people that are kind of against it or find it gross or what have you, because they're probably going to make the situation more stressful by embarrassing you. Wear clothing that's comfortable and easy to remove, especially shoes. And not always will you have to completely remove your shoes and everything else, but sometimes you do. So it's a good idea to wear, don't wear 20-hole docks. They're going to take 15 minutes to remove and put back on. Wear something that's easy to slip on and off. Clothing-wise, loose fitting, but something that's going to be supportive. I a lot of people are like, I'll just not wear anything, under a skirt or go commando or whatever. Oftentimes, it's a good idea to wear something so that we have somewhere to kind of put something supportive in there in case it bleeds on your way home. So do wear underwear is what I'm getting at. Maybe the ones that you wouldn't wear on a date. And the next one, be prepared for bleeding. These piercings sometimes, because it's a very blood-rich area, can bleed off and on from 3 to 5 days. I generally suggest sanitary napkins or pads for this. If you can purchase them ahead of time and have one with you, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. Stock up on safe sex products. If you are sexually active or have a partner that you live with, it's a good idea to buy all that stuff ahead of time, so it's one less thing you have to worry about. This is important. Talk to your partner before getting the piercing. I know there's this kind of there's this instinct to do it as a surprise, especially I don't know how many people I talk out of getting genital piercings or have over the years right before Valentine's Day. Worst time, they got this big weekend planned. Oh, I'm going to get this genital piercing. because I'm going to be spending all this special time with my partner in this hotel room and everything else. And it's like, no, that is the worst time to get pierced. You're not, you shouldn't probably be that active sexually at that point. You don't know how clean that hotel room is going to be, and there may be a hot tub, which you definitely can't get in. So it's best to talk to your partner, maybe not say exactly when you're doing it. If you want to surprise them, talk to them about it, and then pick out a time when maybe you guys are having like a weekend apart or something's going on, and have it done then. And then when they come back, then surprise them when you're in a situation where, you can do some activities. So basically have that discussion, get their feeling on it. It is your body, your decision, but you do want to have their input because it will affect them in some ways, especially for that period of healing. And it may affect how they perceive and feel during the process of being intimate. So you should have their input. You should have that communication. Have fun with your partner beforehand, or whoever yourself. Get that sexual energy out of you and get that libido down, because it's going to be kind of stifled for a little bit. Plan on kind of abstaining from sexual activity for 3 to 5 days immediately after the piercing is done. You need to understand something about genital piercings. They tend to remind you that you have genitals. So don't be surprised if your libido starts surging a little bit after a couple days. But it's best if you can kind of drain the battery, so to speak, beforehand, just to make that whole transition a little bit easier. Best to do when you have a couple days off from work. The reason being is it just gives you some time to kind of recoup, sit around the house, do nothing, and a pair of comfy pants, and just binge watch something and eat things you're not supposed to. Don't plan on getting this done and then going on a bunch of hikes and horseback riding and a long bike ride or motorcycle ride or something else. It's best to kind of wait until you have 3 to 4 days or 2 to 3 days to just kind of sit around and do nothing. Always keep the jewelry in the piercing. This is going to be an ongoing part of your life. It is a part of you. There are 2 piercings that are kind of known as the forever piercings when it comes to genital piercings, and those are vertical clitoral hood piercings and Prince Albert piercings. However, that's not everybody, and usually you're not at that point for well over a year. So it's best, when in doubt, leave something in the piercing. Nothing sucks more than having to have something you love and cherish re-pierced. Clothing. Stick with, especially underwear, something that is cotton, comfortable, and keeps things kind of stationary. Constantly having to adjust or having the jewelry twist in certain ways doesn't feel good and isn't a good look. I mean, there used to be those t-shirts that were out there that says, I'm not playing with myself, I'm adjusting my jewelry. It's really common, especially with Prince Albert piercings, infernum piercings, with the weight of the jewelry to cause things to shift. And the only way to get it back to a comfortable position is to go manual. So if you want to avoid that, wear something that's tight-fitting but comfortable. Briefs are great. The other thing is there might be some bleeding off and on, so go through your underwear, find the ones that are the holiest, and don't save them for Sunday, and use those, because then if you toss them, you're not going to feel so bad. Last one is avoid jewelry that's got sharp edges, points, things dangling off of it, or easily catches and snags on things. This should be a given, you would think, but it isn't. You don't want anything that's going to get caught on stuff constantly. It's not going to feel good, and it can damage the piercing, and especially during the healing process, prolong healing. Well, that's it. That's all I have to talk about today. Do you have a genital piercing? Do you have some myths that you would like to add or some experience? Please share with the community. Leave a comment. Till next time, here's hoping your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I'd love to see if your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in that next video.